In a recent call from prison, R. Kelly spoke to Andre about his case, his life and everything in between, highlighting that the 120-page appeal by his attorney Jennifer Bonjean has been submitted and accepted. According to R. Kelly, Bonjean's appeal is mainly addressing the RICO charges, of course, among other things, but not the Bureau of Prisons illegalities, which are another story altogether to be looked into and dealt with in another arrangement we are yet to describe. About the RICO, Bonjean's appeal is centered mainly on the valid argument that you cannot have a RICO enterprise comprised of one man. There is just no way the government could prove an enterprise without a team dedicated to criminal activity. To deal with the various infringements on his rights, including the Bureau of Prisons abuse of power incidences, according to R. Kelly, his attorney Jennifer Bonjean filed what is called a tort, and this is the month the court is supposed to be responding to it. Most importantly, R. Kelly mentioned that if the court does not issue his camp a response to this tort this month as promised, then Bonjean will be left with no choice but to file it publicly. They therefore gotta respond before this month is over, and surely that's good news for all of us. So according to R. Kelly's update to his fans and supporters on what's going on with his appeal process, these are the two major developments we can bank on as we wait. During the call, Andre asked R. Kelly to speak to the people around the world who only know him for his music, and give them a glimpse of who he is off the music scene. And this proved to be an important thing for him to do, considering ever since his ordeals started, he has been treated like he is a robot that shouldn't be allowed or expected to make some mistakes in life, to a point where it's his whole life currently being put on trial. It's in fact important that the world remembers R. Kelly is not a computer program that doesn't have feelings, but a human being and man enough to make some mistakes. If anyone was ever placed on trial for their whole life, I am sure they would survive being prejudiced, for there are always ways to manipulate what would otherwise be non-punishable misdemeanors to look like crimes. Eager to answer this question, R. Kelly responded in his own words, saying, "I am a nobody who just happened to have a talent. And because I am a nobody, I stayed private. And even as a kid coming up, I never wanted anybody to know that I couldn't read or spell. I didn't want nobody to know about me, and so that took me dead into me being private and shut down all the time, wearing sunglasses and loving masks a lot so people don't see my eyes. And you've got your brothers and sisters coming up to you and asking you how you ever gonna be a writer when you can't even read or spell." According to Robert, every song he ever wrote came off the top of his head, and he never wrote nothing down in his studio because he couldn't spell it to be able to write. And so, to demystify his talent and how he made these hits, R. Kelly says he would simply grab the mic and sing off head, but whatever he sung simply turned out to be a hit. Kelly feels there are so many people out there who pretend to know him when they really don't know him, and all they are doing in chasing clout, for they feel proud to show the world that they know something about him. Again, about his inability to read, R. Kelly talks about the times his organizers would ask him to read announcements and introduce the next person on stage, and he would decline because he couldn't read after all, and he didn't want the world to know this. But for the organizers, they thought if everybody else can do it, why can't R. Kelly do it? They thought he was just proud, but they simply didn't know why he acted this way. R. Kelly actually thinks this is the reason he was not getting as many Grammys, even if he had so many hits ranking #1 on the radio. So while many people think he just popped out of nowhere and became a star, they ought to know that he went through a whole life of challenges, singing on the streets in search for what to eat, and hitchhiking from Chicago to LA trying to get famous. Sleeping on basketball pitches and everywhere. No one would like to spend a night just trying to get a record deal, even though everybody closed doors on him and said no. R. Kelly speaks of returning to Chicago, where he ended up getting his first record deal outside a backyard barbecue, at which place he sang from time to time and eventually got noticed by Jive Records. R. Kelly definitely feels so misunderstood and believes this bleeds into other situations as well, with people judging him and deciding he is a monster with no proof whatsoever. Another strange revelation R. Kelly made during this interview is how the record company demanded that he stop singing what they term as legit white music, and that he do sexual songs to imitate artists such as Bobby Brown and Aaron Hall, among the others who did this kind of music. That's how he started singing the lyrics he is now blamed for. Before anyone blames R. Kelly for making sexualized songs, therefore, they ought to remember that it was the record companies which wanted this and not him. Shocking as it may sound, R. Kelly did reveal that the record company was never pleased with him releasing I Believe I Can Fly, simply because they felt the song was so inspirational and would confuse their audience. Can you believe this? According to Mona Lisa, I am happy to learn that in addition to the appeal submission, R. Kelly's legal team has also filed to address the illegalities that the government together with the Bureau of Prisons officers were involved in, which saw R. Kelly's client attorney privacy rights violated. While they may have denied him his right to freely speak to his attorneys from time to time using the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse, when they finally spoke, the BOP had no right to share his conversations with the public, and most especially with a blogger who was working with the government prosecutors and witnesses. This alone should have been reason enough to drop the case against him and acquit him immediately. Why he would still be battling charges when all this happened is hard to understand. According to Martina, it's no wonder that the record companies are right behind the sexualized music he produced. Comments about his music orientation have been all over social media and were definitely a contributing factor to his prejudice, yet the corporations which demanded this music have been left untouched. No one talks about Sony with respect to this music style, perhaps because they dropped him. If he has to be on trial for his life like they have done to him, it's the record companies that ought to be brought to book and not him. And when it comes to the other complaints to do which what they say he did on his own, they simply have no evidence to prove that these events happened the way they want the world to believe. R. Kelly deserves to be given his freedom back. We do not see a reason for them to hold him. According to King Judah's daughter, I give all praise to the Most High God for every piece of good news coming in. Indeed, this case ought to be overturned like his cousin suggested. Meanwhile, the more they harass him, the more it works out right for him. I believe R. Kelly has tripled his fandom, and those who were not listening to his music before are now listening more than ever and loving it. I pray that when he is finally free, he don't let any of these women back into his life, and that he will be a lot more careful with who he allows into his social circles. He also ought to return to his inspirational gospel music style and leave the record labels for good. Only God can protect him from all situations, and therefore signing more gospel music will be the way to go. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to lfnmedia15@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.